All right, so today we're going to dive into another project analysis, and we'll do these from time to time here on the show. One of the things that I look at is how big data and just in general, data is going to be utilized, especially in Web3 and kind of the evolution, because we're seeing so many innovations going into Web3. The question is, how will data be managed? So I thought, hey, let's get some people on to really kind of dive into this. So joining me today is Markus Levin from XYO. And we're going to jump right to it. Markus, let's get into it first around kind of the overall project of XYO. Tell me a little bit about it. How would a typical user in Web3 understand what XYO is trying to do?
Yeah, hey, hi Paul, thanks for having me on the show. And maybe let me tell you a little bit about the evolution of XYO so you understand where the data need really comes from and then how it connects with Web3. Like, well, it should take a minute or two. So we started out in location IoT, and their data gets easily spoofed or hacked, right? You can download the GPS spoofing app and pretend that you are in San Diego right now while you're actually in Miami, right? And that's a problem for any second app on your phone or for automated supply chain, self-driving cars, and so on. So we developed a blockchain technology is called the XYO network, which allows you to have certainty around the location data. So it's IoT devices interacting with each other, doing something we call bound witnesses, and then basically it provides certainty around that location data. So you have proof of origin and then where something ended up. And it's from there, we realized that we're really good to provide trustlessness around other data as well. So other IoT data like temperature or other sensory data or even offline data, which nodes or users collect. And then we validate and verify it through the XYO network and connect it to smart contracts. The problem today with that data from a lot of other sources is that the data is not trustless, right? So if you let's say you make a bet, right, and the smart contract gets resolved through a certain source, right, you need to be able to trust that source. And blockchain, as you're well aware, is all about trustlessness, and so we provide trustless data for these for smart contracts and other digital realities.
So application-wise, when we've seen different scenarios where data becomes one of the key elements, especially in Web3. Obviously with Web2, we've seen this in a completely different cycle. Web3 will probably take us in a different direction when it comes to data in general. I was looking at your website, introducing the world's first reality oracle. Explain to me kind of how this is going to implement in real world applications for, whether it's for IT companies or for different types of dApps or different types of projects that are rolling out on to Web3. Where would you guys come in?
Yeah, we for example, we know that your jacket is your jacket, right? At where you bought it, at which price you bought it, that it's, let's say, a limited edition, let's say there's only 10 of them, right? And then your avatar in the metaverse, then we validate and verify it, and then your avatar in the metaverse can wear the same jacket, but it's, let's say, it's sparkly or whatever, right? And so we come in as a connector between the real world data and then connect that with the physical reality. We are basically the bridge, but also we are the data verifier. So we don't just take any data point. We make sure that there's trustlessness around that data, so that the data point is validated and verified in a number of ways.
So getting into data validation, there's a couple of things that we see here a lot on our sister show with Metaverse Insider. NFTs, of course, are a big factor in that because we're seeing so many NFTs coming in the marketplace. One thing is validity and the validation of those smart contracts. Additionally, you'll see different kinds of game projects that are rolling out on the metaverse side of things, especially that might have an NFT component. Do you see, when you look at the growth of the sectors right now, whether it's NFTs, metaverse, gaming, or maybe on the financial side, because this also could apply, I think, within applications around DeFi, is there one particular sector that you guys are looking at more so than others right now?
It's Interesting that you ask because obviously the metaverse is a trendy thing right now, and NFTs and so on. But in the end, it's all data connection. Everybody needs data connection. We have so many partners at XY. We are different than most other crypto companies. We are not only revenue generating at a very large pace, but we are a profitable company as well. And that is because we are able to generate vast amounts of very amazing data, which we're able to sell to companies from Chainlink to traditional companies. You have
Right.
here technology, for example, which is one of the largest mapping companies, and everybody has different needs. Some people, for example, they need trustless data around businesses and restaurants and bars. A lot of that data is not good, which is provided by Google and friends, because during COVID, a lot of things have changed, and our nodes and users go out there and collect that data, and it gets validated, verified, and then sold to companies. And that's the traditional way, right? And then in the blockchain way, you can use that data for example, to resolve a smart contract. We did a decentralized giveaway where everybody who was at a certain fast food restaurant this was like 2 months ago, on that day got an entry to a sweepstakes, and we used Chainlink's random number generator and a Polygon smart contract to then automatically give away the prize. So there's so many ways to use that data, and the possibilities are really endless. Yeah, yeah.
I was, yeah, I was looking at one of your Medium posts, and this kind of drew it in, at least for me, and really understanding kind of the focus of where this is going. Web3 using blockchain-related features to improve user experience. One big improvement is the focus on data ownership. And the current iteration of the internet, Web 2, obviously what we see out there right now. Most of the companies that most people are utilizing today, whether it's social media, an e-commerce site, all those types of things, they're pretty much in control of that data, all of our data as we interact with it. When you think about that and where Web 3 will eventually iterate to, do you see kind of a democratization of data in Web3 really happening? Or do you think we're going to see companies kind of falling back kind of into the old Web2 ways of collecting data and then harvesting and selling that data out based on the different platforms? What are your thoughts on that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's all about ownership of your data, your privacy, whatever privacy level you choose, right? And then if you choose to share data, that you're fairly compensated for it. Like today, that's not happening. If you look at Google and Friends, and we are changing that, and our nodes and users that trust us. We are one of the largest blockchain networks in the world. It's more than 4 million users, and that is because uh, people come in, right, and want to be compensated for their data, and in a fair way. And Web3 and XYO especially is able to do that.
Yeah. I see that when you look at kind of the evolution of Web3 right now, this is something I've talked to several founders on. John Wu and I have this conversation often about kind of the migration from Web 2 to Web 3 and some of the things that are holding Web 3 back. When you look at that from really being widely adopted, what do you feel like is going to be the key things that have to change for Web 3 to really kind of get this next up ramp or bell curve into especially popularity for, I think, traditional real-world activities and real-world platforms that are out there today in Web 2? What's going to help it move forward?
Yeah, I think that there's two things, and they're somewhat connected. So number one is user experience, right? If you do a Google search, it's just beautiful, right? Or if you
Right.
go on Facebook, maybe take the ads away, but it's beautiful, right? It's so easy to use. My grandma can use both of them. And in the blockchain world, you often have applications which are built for blockchain nerds like yourself and me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yep.
it's difficult to find wide adoption. And as long as blockchain projects think about that their addressable market is just you and me, or as blockchain nerds, it's going to be difficult to find wide
Right.
adoption, right? So I think business models need to be built which address the whole wider market. At XYO, we experienced that in the beginning. I was out there and wanted everyone. I wanted all our customers to pay us in XYO only. It was impossible, obviously, to get any reasonable business.
Yeah.
Today, they pay us in USD or other fiat or Bitcoin or Ether, and then we exchange it for XYO and buy XYO in the marketplace, right, and put it into our ecosystem and
Hmm.
millions and millions of dollars worth of XYO, and that works, right? Or we created an app called Coin. Coin is an augmented reality app which
Yeah.
allows you to earn rewards as you explore the world. And the user interface is amazing. It's like 80% of the people who come into the app are non-crypto people, but 95% of the people redeem for XYO. And
Hmm.
so they come into our ecosystem and they come into blockchain, and we bring millions of new people into the blockchain and crypto world. And I wish that there would be more projects which would put a focus on that, because then we would get more and more and more adoption. And obviously, it's more adoption, we get amazing regulations and more pressure on a traditional industry to change as well.
Yeah, for sure. I was also looking on your Medium post. It went to the point of really kind of highlighting Stripe and PayPal as one of the leaders on making big strides toward adoption, which has been around the whole area of people understanding you can buy Bitcoin or you can get access to crypto in different places. Obviously, we've seen the Strike app and what's happened down in El Salvador. That's happening now. We see Cash App starting to implement, the scenario of the Lightning Network in terms of being able to enable payments. When you look at all those kind of things, because these are traditional, payment rails that have been out there, but now you've got the next layer of e-commerce, data harvesting, whether it's someone like an Etsy or a Facebook or many of the platforms out there that do use a ton of data and get a ton of data from users. How is this going to affect their strategies, these big companies going forward? I think of someone just as simple as Starbucks, who has a massive loyalty platform, and they harvest a tremendous amount of data from the users themselves, both on social media, but also within their own app. How would those kind of companies be able to make the leap forward in terms of Web3?
Yeah, I think companies like ours need to make it easy for them to be adopted, right? Like a lot of them have boards which think you and I are Pablo Escobar and are evil of all evil, right? Because
Yeah.
they're afraid of crypto, and they heard like Silk Road stories or other stories, and they don't know that the ecosystem has evolved yet. And so I think we need to educate them and make it easy for them to taste what we can do and show the benefits. And I think more and more companies in our space are actually able to do that. It's like amazing to see companies like Nike, for example, being a leader in like the metaverse and blockchain ideas.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think you're right. There are a handful of companies that have started to really kind of engage within, whether it's metaverse or Web3 applications. Obviously, NFTs have played a big role of this. And I anticipate that NFTs are probably going to be the gateway drug for a lot of retail brands to kind of move in this direction, which is obviously going to open them up to smart contracts and the need for really something like what you guys are doing there as well. I want to get into a little bit about you guys' the company that really kind of is behind XYO. If you could kind of talk to a little bit about that and where you guys are going with the overall strategy of building a blockchain, especially around Web3 and data applications.
Yeah, good timing. The company itself behind it is called XYO Labs, and we decided in 2018 to do something. It's called a Regulation A offering, where you raise money by selling shares to anyone, really accredited and unaccredited investors. So it's a way to allow anyone to invest in a company. Today we have more than 23,000 shareholders, and in this quarter we're gonna most likely list the company stock on an alternative trading system. It's called the T0 ATS,
Hmm.
which is similar to a national exchange like the NYSE or NASDAQ, but it is more tokenized security. It's a pretty new thing. We're going to be the seventh or
Right.
eighth listed asset there with the market leader. So that's super exciting. It provides liquidity. and it will allow you to trade from XYO Labs stock into XYO, the utility token, into BTC, into Tesla shares, and back into, let's say, XYO Labs stock. And it's going to be this ecosystem which brings everything together. So it's very exciting for us on the XYO Labs side.
Yeah, I was looking at T0 and understanding kind of the evolution of where this is going. Do you see a lot more projects and maybe initiatives, especially around Web3 and just in general, I think as blockchain companies develop to, one, raise capital, the other aspect is it really kind of opens up to the whole tokenized future. How will this, how do you think this is going to kind of play out in the future? Do you think we'll see a lot of adoption moving in this direction?
I think T0 has shown one, like last month, something amazing thing happened there. The chief strategy officer of the ICE Intercontinental Exchange, which owns
Hmm.
the NYSE, became the CEO of the T0 ATS, and ICE
Wow.
became an investor into T0 ATS as well. And so they obviously believe it's going to be a huge thing. ICE has like 12 exchanges or so. And yeah, it's gonna be amazing. I think it's gonna allow a lot more companies like ours to become listed. Usually if you have a Nasdaq listing, it's like $1 to $4 million in
Right.
compliance fees, a year, and it's just insanely expensive. Uh, this way, I think investors are able to invest in companies which are a little smaller in size, like ours, and that space is going to blow up also because it's going to make it easy to invest from crypto to private stock to public listed stock
Right,
and everything.
right.
And then not tokenized securities are not only stock in companies like ours, but also could be a tokenized hotel, right, or a tokenized car rental, or a tokenized house. And there's so many ways you can tokenize securities and trade them on these ATSs. So it allows a lot of ways to invest in a lot of different things.
I think the key here is going to be as we start to see the evolution of investment overall, especially because of the generation that we're bringing up that has really kind of adopted into cryptocurrency as one of their lead investment capital areas. And they're moving away from traditional, stock trading. We're seeing so much more moving in this direction. Obviously, the idea of tokenized exchanges and or exchanges that have this ability to kind of go cross, especially this way, going both with traditional assets as well as crypto and emerging assets are going to be very interesting to go forward with for sure. Last question to you, and that is on XYO's roadmap. When you guys look forward and you're saying, hey, these are the things we're trying to get done here in 2022, what are some of the key things that you guys are trying to achieve this year?
Yeah, we obviously want to grow more and connect to more ecosystems and companies. So maybe from 4 to 10 million or 20 million users, who knows? And then be this spider web which connects more and more physical and digital realities. And that's our key goal. Earlier this year, we released XYO 2.0. So we had the major technology release, and now it's time to implement and build on top of that.
So XY 2.0, what's the big difference between what you guys launched with and where XY 2.0 is?
Again, like, in the beginning, we were so focused on our ecosystem that it was hardcore smart contracts and very, very developer heavy kind of
Gotcha.
implementations. And we changed it in a way that it's super easy to adopt. It's faster. It's someone at Starbucks can go and launch the XYO system. And it's basically the evolution of making it easier and user friendly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, use case is going to be so killer, especially on a lot of Web 2, applications, whether it's e-commerce or just in general, customer management, loyalty, all those good kind of things that really kind of flow out into the market. It's going to be needed. Markus, it has been great having you on the show today. Thank you so much for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. It was awesome.
Excellent. All right, so you guys are tuned in over on the podcast side of things right now. The number one thing you can do is jump over here to the YouTube channel. Make sure and search Paul Barron Network. You'll find a couple of our shows. One, of course, is Tech Path Crypto, which you just had a chance to experience. But also we have another great podcast and video series, which is called Metaverse Insider. Make sure and check that one out as well. If you guys want to reach me out on Twitter, it's @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechBack.